In 1550, London was not a city of order and elegance. It was a choking maze of mud, smoke, bells, and bodies. Thousands lived shoulder to shoulder, breathing plague, fear, and ambition. To survive these streets was to gamble with death every single day. By 1550, London had become one of the fastest-growing cities in Europe. Its population had surged past 120,000, nearly doubling within a century, driven by rural migration, trade, and the pull of royal power. But the city's medieval foundations were never designed for this scale. Streets laid out generations earlier for carts and foot traffic now strained under constant human congestion. Houses rose taller and closer, narrowing lanes and blocking light and air. Entire neighborhoods pressed against the old Roman walls, with little room left to expand. This sudden growth overwhelmed food supplies, housing, sanitation, and law enforcement. Around 1550, London crossed a threshold. What had once been crowded became unstable. The city functioned, but barely. It felt restless, overstretched, and permanently on edge. A place where opportunity and danger occupied the same narrow street. London streets in the mid-16th century reflected a city trapped by its own past. Most followed medieval paths set long before population pressure mattered. Many were barely wide enough for two carts to pass, and some allowed only a single person at a time. Timber houses jutted outward with each new floor, upper stories leaning so close they nearly touched. Sunlight struggled to reach the ground. Air circulation was poor, especially in densely built wards inside the old walls of London. As demand for housing increased, property owners built upward rather than outward, worsening congestion below. These physical constraints shaped daily life. Movement was slow, visibility limited, and fire spread easily. The city's layout magnified every problem it faced, turning routine travel into friction and crowding into constant pressure. By the mid-16th century, the smells of London were inseparable from daily survival. Refuse from homes and workshops was routinely dumped into the streets or open gutters, where it mixed with animal dung and human waste. Slaughterhouses operated within the city, spilling blood and offal into nearby lanes. Clean water was scarce. Many Londoners relied on shallow wells, easily contaminated, or drew water directly from the River Thames, which also served as the city's primary sewer. Regulations against dumping waste existed but were poorly enforced. During warm months, decay intensified and stagnant air trapped odors between tightly packed buildings. These conditions were not considered exceptional. They were normal. Smell was a warning sign of danger, but it was also unavoidable, a constant reminder of how fragile health and survival were in a city without sanitation. For most Londoners in 1550, life unfolded almost entirely at street level. Homes were cramped, often shared by multiple families, pushing daily work and trade into public space. Apprentices hauled goods, hawkers sold bread, fish, and ale, and children worked alongside adults from a young age. Markets were essential, but also chaotic, drawing crowds that clogged already narrow lanes. Social boundaries blurred in these conditions. Wealthy merchants, laborers, beggars, and criminals moved through the same streets, separated more by fortune than by space. In London, the street was not just a route from place to place. It was a workplace, a marketplace, and a social arena where survival depended on visibility, speed, and constant awareness of others. Disease was an ever-present threat. In mid-16th century London, the city had endured repeated outbreaks of bubonic plague since the Black Death, with major resurgences in 1518, 1528, and again in the 1540s. Alongside plague came the mysterious sweating sickness, which struck suddenly and could kill within hours. Medical understanding was limited. Illness was commonly blamed on corrupted air, known as miasma, or interpreted as divine punishment. When outbreaks intensified, authorities ordered infected houses sealed and marked, while wealthier residents fled to the countryside. Church bells tolled constantly for the dead, shaping the city's daily rhythm. Death was not hidden or distant. It was visible, frequent, and unpredictable, reinforcing a collective awareness that life in London could change overnight. Crime was an unavoidable reality in mid-16th century London. Rapid population growth strained law enforcement, and overcrowded streets provided ideal conditions for theft, fraud, and violence. Pickpocketing was common in markets and near churches, while nighttime brought greater danger, as unlit streets offered cover for assaults. Authorities relied on harsh punishment to maintain order. Public whippings, branding, and executions were staged deliberately in open spaces to deter crime. Hangings at Tyburn Tree drew large crowds, turning justice into spectacle. These displays reinforced authority, but they also revealed a city governed as much by fear as by law, where survival often depended on vigilance rather than protection. Faith shaped every aspect of life in mid-16th century London, but it was a period of deep religious uncertainty. The 1550s fell amid England's turbulent Reformation, following the break from Rome under Henry VIII and ongoing Protestant reforms under Edward VI. Churches remained central to community life, yet doctrine was shifting, and many Londoners struggled to understand what salvation now required. Misfortune, disease, and fire were widely interpreted as signs of divine judgment. Alongside official religion, superstition persisted. Omens, astrology, and folk beliefs influenced decisions and behavior, especially during times of crisis. Faith offered structure and explanation, but it also intensified anxiety. In a city already under strain, spiritual doubt added another layer of fear, as people questioned whether their suffering was accidental or deserved. By 1550, inequality in London was impossible to ignore. Wealth concentrated in the hands of merchants, guild leaders, and landowners who benefited from trade and royal connections. Their homes were larger, better built, and located in more desirable wards. Just streets away, the poor crowded into subdivided houses and lodging rooms, often paying high rents for minimal space. Poverty was visible and unsettling, prompting concern from authorities about disorder and vagrancy. The government responded with early poor laws, attempting to regulate begging and provide limited relief through parishes. Charity existed, but it was uneven and insufficient. The city's dense layout forced wealth and misery into close proximity, heightening social tension in a place where inequality was lived face to face. Despite the danger, people continued to flood into London. The city offered something the countryside increasingly could not: work, trade, and the possibility of advancement. London was the center of royal administration, law, and international commerce. For apprentices, migrants, and craftsmen, hardship was balanced against opportunity. Even disease and overcrowding did not outweigh the chance to earn wages, build connections, or escape rural poverty. By 1550, London had become more than a place to live. It was a force that shaped ambition and identity. The pressures it created were severe, but they marked the emergence of a new kind of city, one that would define England's future.